There's a specific type of person you've met. You might have one in your family, or maybe you see them in the comments section of this channel. They are the ones who operate on a different frequency. While the rest of the world is spiraling because a coffee order is wrong, they are already 3 steps ahead, offering a solution with a shrug and a weirdly calm smile. We tend to call them strong. We say they have their head on straight. But what if I told you that what we perceive as unshakable calm is actually the end result of a very different kind of psychological engineering? What if their ability to navigate your chaos isn't a personality trait? It's a hard-won survival skill that most of us simply don't possess. Welcome to the psychology of the human lighthouse. Today, we're not talking about how people survive trauma. We're talking about what happens after. We're talking about the alchemy that turns lead into gold, pain into perception, and brokenness into a beacon. Let's start with the paradox of the unflappable one. You see it in traffic. Someone cuts them off, and while you're gripping the steering wheel, preparing for a confrontation, they're just calm. They're not a doormat. They're a detective. Their brain has been rewired. See, when you've lived through a genuine storm, a fender bender isn't a threat. It's a minor drizzle. Their nervous system isn't broken, it's been upgraded. It's a high-end security system that learned to differentiate between a car backfiring and an actual gunshot. The problem is, once you've installed that system, it's hard to turn off the silent alarm. But here is where the narrative takes a sharp left turn. You'd expect this hyper-awareness to make someone cynical, distant, bitter, and for a while, it might. But often what emerges is something that looks like the opposite. They become aggressively empathetic. They didn't just learn to feel their own pain, they became fluent in the language of yours. A slight crack in your voice? They caught it. A forced smile in a photo? They noticed. They've memorized the texture of silence, the difference between a comfortable quiet and a heavy, disappointed one. Most people walk into a room and see the furniture. These individuals walk into a room and feel the emotional temperature. They've become meteorologists of the human soul, not because they studied it, but because predicting the weather used to be a matter of survival. This brings us to a concept you might have heard of: post-traumatic growth. Psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun found that a significant portion of trauma survivors don't just bounce back to baseline. They bounce forward. They develop a kind of radical appreciation for the mundane. A sunset isn't just a sunset, it's a breathtaking spectacle. A quiet Tuesday is a treasure. They will cry at a commercial where a puppy finds a home, and they're not even embarrassed about it. Their priorities crystallize into diamond-hard truths. They stop caring about the trivial things, the gossip, the status symbols, and start caring intensely about authenticity, connection, and the sheer miracle of a peaceful moment. But this upgrade comes with a firmware glitch: hypervigilance. That threat detection system we mentioned, it never fully powers down. Ever been with someone who absolutely must sit with their back to the wall? Who has 17 contingency plans for a simple coffee date? That's not paranoia. It's a nervous system that learned, in its most formative moments, that safety is a luxury, not a guarantee. Their brain is always running a background process, scanning the perimeter, calculating exit strategies. It's exhausting. It's also invisible to the outside world, which is why they often get labeled as high-strung or controlling. And here's the other thing they do that will break your heart. They downplay their own story. Oh, it wasn't that bad. Other people have it worse. I'm fine, really. They've developed an almost allergic reaction to being seen as a victim. They survived by telling themselves they were okay. It was the mantra that got them through. To admit that it was that bad, to admit that they are not fine, feels like a failure. It feels like letting the storm win. So they minimize their own history while holding the weight of yours with the utmost care. The irony is a cruel kind of poetry. This internal conflict becomes most visible in their relationships. People who have endured too much often become either incredibly loyal or incredibly distant, and sometimes they become both at the same time, which is as confusing for them as it is for you. They will show up for you at 3 a.m. without a moment's hesitation. They will fight your battles. But ask them to be vulnerable about their own needs. Suddenly, they're busier than a one-armed juggler. Why? Because closeness has historically come with consequences. When your early experiences taught you that connection can be unpredictable, your nervous system doesn't relax when someone gets close. It braces for impact. They desperately want to be held, but they are terrified of needing the arms that hold you, because dependence, in their experience, came with a price tag. So they learn to need nobody. It sounds strong, it looks strong, but it's also incredibly lonely. It's a fortress with a for sale sign in the front yard. And yet, out of this chaos emerges a superpower, an exceptional ability to adapt. New job? Sure. Moving cities? Why not? Entire life falling apart on a Tuesday? They've got a system for that. This is where their humor comes in, specifically dark humor. It's not about being insensitive, it's about taking the power back. When you can laugh at the absurdity of your own suffering, it loses some of its grip on you. Comedy becomes armor. Every joke is a tiny rebellion against the thing that tried to break them. This creates another fascinating contradiction: their relationship with control. They will micromanage the smallest details of their life while remaining eerily zen about massive uncertainties, organizing the pantry by color, having an existential crisis over which coffee mug to use. Why? Because they've learned the hard way that the big stuff is often beyond their control. But the small stuff? The small stuff they can manage. It's a way of creating a safe harbor in a chaotic ocean. But beneath all this strength, all this wisdom, all this dark humor, there is a grief that rarely gets acknowledged. It's not the grief of losing a person. It's the grief of losing a version of themselves. They grieve the person they were before, the one who trusted easily, the one who laughed without checking the room first, the one who didn't rehearse conversations or anticipate danger in every silence. They miss the self that felt light, the self that didn't worry about being too much or not enough. How do you explain to someone that you're homesick for a place that existed only inside your own mind? A childhood you didn't fully get to live, a softness you didn't get to keep. This grief doesn't break them, it shapes them. It makes them quieter, more observant, more intentional. It turns them into someone who cherishes peace because they know the cost of chaos. It turns them into someone who values safe people because unsafe people taught them exactly how much it hurts. And maybe that's the real psychology here. People who have gone through too much don't just survive. They develop a complex, nuanced understanding of what it means to be human. They know that strength isn't about never falling apart. It's about how many times you can reassemble yourself, even when some pieces don't fit the same way anymore. Their survival became insight. Their pain became compassion. And without even noticing it, they became something rare, a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't shine because it's perfect, untouched by the sea. A lighthouse shines because it has weathered the storms. It shines because it knows the darkness intimately. It stands as a guide, not in spite of its scars, but because of them. It says to the ships in the night, "I have been where you are. The rocks are here. The shore is there. You are not alone." So the next time you meet someone who seems a little too okay with chaos, a little too comfortable with uncertainty, a little too quick to laugh at their own pain, just know they've earned that wisdom. Every joke, every boundary, every moment of unexpected depth, it's all been paid for. They've gone through too much, and somehow, against all odds, they're still here, still trying, still finding reasons to hope. That's not just psychology, that's poetry in motion. That's the human spirit, rewired, rebuilt, and radiating. If this resonated with you, or if you see your own lighthouse in this story, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the mind with Mr. StickMan Psychology. And as always, take care of yourself. You've earned it.